last year hired Ryan Daub, who you had on recently, and he's been working with us ever since, and he's been an awesome addition to the team. So it's me and him, and we take on the world on an internal red team, which has been a lot of fun.
You talked about, internships, because that is how a lot of people get jobs, and that's probably the best way to get into a position right now, I would say, because it is a
Yep,
little harder to find
100%.
jobs right now. We've had a few people on this show already who have said that they got their first job through internships, so
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
definitely one of the better ways to get into the field. Speaking of Ryan Dobbs, so episode number 7, that was only like what, 3 episodes ago, we had him on the show and he mentioned you a few times. He didn't mention you by name. The main takeaway I took away from his episode, and that's the reason why I put that clip at the beginning of his episode, was how he uploaded his pentest report to
Hmm.
the application.
Yeah,
Because the title of that episode is "Thinking Outside the Box to Land Your First Pentesting Job." That's
yeah,
like, and that
yeah.
was a big takeaway for me. And I'm kind of curious on like hearing like your perspective on from the hiring
Hmm.
point, from seeing that come in.
Yeah, when you had mentioned that you had Ryan Daub on, I usually think of that experience with him in hiring and how he stood out. And I've mentioned that a number of times towards job seekers. People who are having a little bit of tough time and they're looking for tips. He was very proactive in expressing his interest and his skill set. And he just went an extra mile. And that really caused him to stand out amongst the top 4 or 5 applicants that we had. And the main thing was through him providing like a pen test report of his home lab and stuff like that. We didn't have any other applicants that did something like that. We interviewed a number of other people and they had really great resumes, but it wasn't a good fit. And we were in an interesting spot because we work for an internal team. It's not a consulting, like a smaller boutique consulting company or anything like that. So we're subject to HR's rules, and we had to play there by the rule set. So we weren't allowed to offer a challenge or any like technical competency test. We just had to do our phone screenings, interview, 1 or 2 interviews, and then make a decision. And so him proactively sending us like essentially a technical challenge that I would have given him really helped him stand out. And then he did a fantastic job in the interview. And he was able to intelligently answer the questions, and even the stuff he was a little bit uncomfortable with, and where I was kind of pushing to see what the limits were. He did a really good job handling the pressure and also speaking to what he could speak to in each thing. And I generally try to push the limits of like, okay, tell me how much you know about DNS, or tell me how much you know about the TLS handshake, or something like that. And just if they don't know much about it, that's totally fine. But I just kind of want to push the limits and see how they respond. And he did a really great job with that. But I definitely recommend that if you are in your job search journey and you're having a tough time. First of all, set up a home lab. This is what Dob did. We have a couple Ryans on our team, so I always refer to him as Dob. So he set up a home lab, and he researched a bunch of penetration testing techniques, and he was doing some trainings and stuff, and he was actually taking this content that he was learning and he was applying it in his home lab. And then he went a step further and actually wrote a report as if he was actually presenting it to a client. And so that was just really tipped the scales for us to hire him, and he's been phenomenal ever since. So I hope that encourages those of you who are still in your journey. You're wondering how you can stand out, and you're like, oh, I don't have these certifications, or I don't have this or that. There are other ways that you can stand out, and there are people who want to take chances on folks who have a lot of potential but might not have all of the experience or training. So there are people out there, so don't give up.
You said home lab, so do you think the
Hmm.
same effect could be accomplished if someone just did a report on like a hack the box machine, or like a try hack me room?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you, for instance, me, I actually I don't have a home lab. I mean, I do have a home lab in one sense, but I don't have like what Ryan had built. I usually use my training platforms or Hack the Box, something like that, to cut my teeth on whatever I'm studying or preparing for. So if that's not something you have the bandwidth or the resources to be able to, buy a system that has enough resources to run a home lab or something like that, you can absolutely just like, throw up a Medium blog and just right how to walk through a certain system and hack the box, or the OffSec PG play, or try hack me, or whatever your platform of choice is, and just share with the world how you're learning, and take them along with your journey. And then that's something that hiring managers can look at, and they can get a chance even before meeting you of what your technical competencies are. Like, oh, this person knows how to run an Nmap scan, and knows how to exploit a SQL injection manually, and knows how to these different classes of vulnerabilities because they've shown up in their reports, or rather their blog posts in that case.
For me, when I was, applying, I wrote up 2 try hacking rooms, and I wrote up 2 hack the box machines, and I think I have like 10-ish, maybe 15-ish hack the box walkthroughs on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I think on my resume I would put like, YouTube channel, blog.
Hmm.
But like, maybe they're not looking at them, maybe if I would have just took the PDF and uploaded it to the report, then they would actually saw it more, I mean, I just
Yeah. Yeah.
assumed that like if I wrote YouTuber and blog, they would just automatically check it out. So, actually uploading it to the report and not just letting it sit on the internet and hope they find it, that's like next level advice in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
it's good that
Absolutely.
he thought of that. Because have you ever heard of that before, like, at all? Because I
No,
haven't.
I've never seen anybody do that, but that's kind of why it stood out. So I'm sure
Yeah.
hopefully people will start doing that more often, and because it will bear fruit.